TOEFL IBT Writing for an Academic Discussion, Scoring Strategies and 10 Practice Tests. And I am Michael Buckhoff from BetterTOEFLScores.com. Welcome. If you're preparing for the TOEFL IBT, especially the new Writing for Academic Discussion task, this video is for you. It'll break down what a top scoring response looks like, show you how to write one, give you 10 practice exercises, sample answers, and even show you how to use ChatGPT to grade your writing. Let's dive in. First, let's make sure we understand the TOEFL writing rubric. This is how you will be graded when you complete this 10-minute response. So what does a 5 look like? If you get 5 out of 5, that means you're going to get 30 points out of 30. A score of 5 means your response is highly relevant, clearly expressed, and linguistically sophisticated. So let's break down what that means. Number 1, relevant and well-elaborated explanations. This means you're not just giving your opinion, you're explaining it, adding examples, and giving reasons. For example, unlike Alex, I believe classroom attendance should be mandatory because face-to-face interaction promotes deeper understanding. For instance, now this is the important part here. A lot of students don't do this. In my biology course, group labs help me retain complex information better than independent study ever did. Okay, number 2, variety in syntactic structures. Use complex sentences, compound sentences, and sometimes short, impactful ones. Like, although online forums are convenient, they often lack real-time interaction. So notice here, I have this adverbial clause, this dependent clause in the beginning of the sentence. Then I have the main part of the sentence after that. And that's why that's a complex sentence. Or I can have 2 short, simple sentences separated by a semicolon if I want to emphasize both ideas as main points. Some students prefer flexibility, others need structure. Number 3, precise and idiomatic word choice, very important. Avoid vague phrases. Instead of good ideas, say well-articulated arguments, replace things with concepts, methods, or policies. 4, minor grammar issues only. Typos are okay. There instead of there won't kill your score, but if your entire response is filled with them, that's a problem. Secondly, let's talk about strategies. How do you score 5 points out of 5 or 30 points out of 30? So here are some tips to help you get the highest score possible. Tip number 1. Use point plus reason plus example method. This creates a logical flow and keeps you on topic. Tip 2. Keep your word count between 150 and 200 words. More than 200, rambling, too much. You can't do it in 10 minutes anyway. Less than 150, undeveloped. Tip 3. Begin with a reference. Start your post by referencing either the professor or another student's comment to stay in the discussion. For example, you might say, I agree with Professor Moore's point about social media use among teenagers. Tip number 4, vary your sentence structures. Don't start every sentence with I think or I agree. Mix it up. Tip 5, learn 10 academic connectors. Here are some examples. However, therefore, in contrast, consequently, in addition, on the other hand, and so on. So by using these connectors, we call these in academic writing transition words. It makes it easier for readers to understand the organization of your ideas. And it makes the IBT human raters, it's easier for them to give you a higher score. Now let's get on to our 10 practice exercises. So take a minute, pause the video, read the professor's post, read what student A says, read what student B says, and then take about 10 minutes and write a 150 to 200 word response to the discussion. And then right after, you'll see the correct answer. Now, with the correct answer, I'm also going to read it out loud. I suggest you do the same. You can work on your pronunciation. I think focus a lot on what I call linking, thought groups, and blending. You're kind of putting together 5 or 6 stress words. You'll have a pause, another 5 or 6 stress words, followed by another pause. So try to get into that habit, even as you practice reading out loud with me. That's going to be good for your integrated speaking. And make sure within the thought group, you want to try to blend those words together. And at the end of a non-final thought group, your tone maybe goes up slightly. When you get to the end of the sentence, your tone falls. So you want to make sure you're varying your tone, you're not pausing too much, you're linking the words within your thought groups. Here's a model answer. Now, I admit I'm going over the top here, right? But it's better to be too good than not good enough. So the worst possible situation by writing like this, you get 30 out of 30. Okay. In response to the professor's post, I strongly believe that remote learning provides flexibility and access. This position is grounded in the practical advantages and long-term societal benefits that such approach offers. For example, a 2022 UNESCO report found that remote learning initiatives during the pandemic allowed over 1.5 billion students worldwide to continue their education despite lockdowns. In regions with robust infrastructure, students not only maintained learning continuity, but also gained exposure to digital tools and independent learning strategies. These skills are necessary increasingly in today's digital-first economy. While critics argue that online formats may lack the engagement and the personal interaction of traditional classrooms, this drawback can be addressed with intentional instructional design, mentorship programs, and interactive digital platforms. Furthermore, remote learning can help reduce educational inequality for students in rural or conflict-affected regions who would otherwise have no access to qualified teachers or learning resources. Ultimately, embracing remote education doesn't mean abandoning in-person learning altogether, but rather expanding access and creating hybrid models that reflect the diverse needs of learners in the 21st century. There you go. Now, if you want to do a little bit more practice with this, you could take some notes and then write a summary of it, or you could orally summarize what you just read, and that's going to help you with integrated writing and also integrated speaking. So there's a lot of different ways you can use this video to improve your academic English language proficiency. So think outside the box. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, take a minute for your exercise number 2. Read the professor's post, student A and student B for a second. Pause the video. Now let's take a look at a model response. In response to the professor's post, I strongly believe that investing in space missions is worth the cost. This position is grounded in the belief that space exploration drives innovation, fosters international cooperation, and addresses long-term survival strategies. For example, NASA's investment in space programs have led to real-world applications such as GPS, satellite communication, and advanced medical imaging technology. A concrete example is the development of memory foam, initially designed to cushion astronauts, which is now used in everything from hospital beds to running shoes. Moreover, space missions inspire the next generation of scientists and engineers, fueling interest in STEM education. While some argue that the money spent on space could better serve urgent social issues on Earth, this perspective overlooks the fact that many space technologies directly benefit life on our planet. Satellite data, for instance, Helps us monitor climate change, manage agriculture, and respond to natural disasters. Furthermore, humanity may one day need to establish off Earth settlements due to environmental degradation or overpopulation, making early space investment a necessary form of insurance. Although priorities should be balanced, space exploration is not a luxury. It's a strategic investment in the future. The cost may be high, but the long term gains in knowledge, technology, and preparedness justify the expense. Practice exercise 3, banning plastic packaging. Pause the video to begin writing your 10-minute response. And here's a model response to that discussion. In response to the professor's post, I strongly support the idea that government should implement a complete ban on single-use plastic packaging. This position stems from the urgent environmental consequences tied to plastic waste and the availability of viable alternatives. According to the United Nations, over 300 million tons of plastics are produced every year, and nearly half is used just once before being discarded. A particularly striking example is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, a floating mass of plastic waste now twice the size of Texas, which continues to harm marine ecosystems and enter the food chain. Banning single-use plastic packaging is a critical step toward mitigating this crisis. Countries like Rwanda and Chile have already implemented such bans and seen measurable environmental improvement. While opponents argue that plastic is necessary for affordability and convenience, this perspective fails to consider the long-term cost of environmental degradation and human health. Many sustainable alternatives now exist, including biodegradable packaging made from seaweed, cornstarch, and recycled paper. These options may be slightly more expensive initially, but with government support and increased demand, production costs will likely decrease. Transitioning away from plastic is not only possible, but imperative. By enacting bans and encouraging innovation, governments can lead the way toward a cleaner, more sustainable future. Practice exercise 4, animal testing and scientific research. Model response. In response to the professor's post, I support the continued use of animal testing and scientific research, albeit with ethical safeguards. This stance is rooted in the vital role animal models have played in life-saving medical advancements. For example, insulin, which millions rely on today for diabetes management, was developed through experiments on dogs in the 1920s. Additionally, animal testing contributed to the development of vaccines for polio, COVID-19, and many other diseases. These breakthroughs have saved countless lives and improved public health globally. However, I recognize the ethical concerns that animal testing raises, especially regarding the welfare and treatment of lab animals. That's why I advocate for strict regulation, transparency, and investment in alternative methods such as organ-on-chip technology or computer simulations. Still, at present, these technologies are not advanced enough to completely replace animal models, particularly for complex biological systems like the immune response. Those who oppose animal testing often underestimate the rigorous review processes that many countries enforce to minimize harm and require scientific justification. Complete banning animal testing would likely stall critical medical progress and expose humans to untested treatments. Until fully reliable alternatives exist, ethically conducted animal testing remains a necessary tool in the pursuit of scientific advancement and human well-being. Practice number 5, universal basic income. Model response. In response to the professor's post, I believe that providing a universal basic income, UBI, can significantly reduce poverty and inequality. This policy ensures a financial safety net for all citizens, which is especially crucial in a world where automation is rapidly replacing jobs. For instance, in a 2017 experiment in Finland, 2,000 unemployed people received a monthly stipend of £560 with no strings attached. Results showed that participants reported lower stress levels and higher motivation to find work compared to a control group. UBI empowers individuals to pursue education, caregiving, or entrepreneurial ventures without the constant fear of financial ruin. Opponents argue that UBI may reduce motivation to work, but this claim overlooks studies indicating that people generally want purposeful activity, not just income. Moreover, UBI can simplify welfare systems, reduce bureaucracy, and stimulate local economies by increasing spending power. A basic income does not replace the need for jobs, but complements them by providing stability in a volatile job market. Especially in times of economic uncertainty, such as during the COVID-19 pandemic, a UBI can prevent people from falling into poverty. While implementation should be gradual and well studied, the potential benefits of UBI for promoting equity and well-being are too substantial to ignore. Practice 6. Social media and mental health. Model answer. In response to the professor's post, I believe that social media significantly affects the mental health of teenagers both positively and negatively. While it can be a source of connection and creativity, the risks associated with excessive use are deeply concerning. A study by the Royal Society for Public Health found that Instagram was associated with high levels of anxiety, depression, and loneliness in users aged 14 to 24. Teenagers are particularly vulnerable to comparing themselves with others, and social media platforms often present curated, idealized images that distort reality. That said, it's important to acknowledge the benefits as well. For teens facing bullying or identity struggles, social platforms can provide a safe space and sense of belonging. Creative outlets like TikTok and YouTube allow young people to express themselves and even develop digital skills. The key issue lies in moderation and digital literacy. Schools and parents need to teach teens how to engage critically and set boundaries around usage. Instead of banning platforms outright, the focus should be on building resilience and fostering real-world connections. When managed wisely, social media can be a useful tool. When misused, it can contribute to serious mental health challenges. The responsibility falls on educators, developers, and users alike. Practice number 7. Renewable energy versus fossil fuels. Model answer. In response to the professor's post, I believe government should pursue a rapid transition to renewable energy. The climate crisis is an urgent threat, and slow action will only worsen its impact. According to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, we have less than a decade to reduce global carbon emissions significantly to avoid irreversible damage. Rapid adoption of renewables like wind, solar, or geothermal energy is essential to achieving this goal. A concrete example is Denmark, which now produces over 50% of its electricity from wind power. This shift not only reduced emissions but also created thousands of clean energy jobs. While some argue that transitioning too quickly could destabilize economies that rely on fossil fuels. That risk can be mitigated through restraining programs and strategic investment in green infrastructure. Renewable technologies are becoming increasingly cost effective, and government subsidies can accelerate this trend. Furthermore, reducing dependence on fossil fuels enhances national security and energy independence. The environmental and health benefits, cleaner air, reduced climate disasters, and lower healthcare costs, further support the case for urgency. A phased but swift transition ensures we meet climate goals while adapting our workforce and economy for the future. Practice number 8, artificial intelligence in the workplace. Artificial intelligence, AI, is transforming the workplace. Some argues it increases productivity and innovation, while others worry it could lead to mass job loss and economic instability. In this discussion, consider the short-term disruptions and long-term effects of AI on employment and human labor. Support your position with examples. Student A, Student B. Take a few minutes to write your response. Model answer. In response to the professor's post, I believe that artificial intelligence will ultimately increase productivity and innovation in the workplace, though it must be introduced responsibly. AI excels at handling repetitive, data-heavy tasks, allowing human employees to focus on higher-level thinking, collaboration, and creativity. For instance, in the healthcare sector, AI algorithms assist in diagnosing diseases more quickly and accurately than some traditional methods. This doesn't eliminate doctors, it helps them focus on patient care. Another example is in finance, where AI reduces fraud by monitoring transactions in real time, saving businesses billions. However, the concerns about job displacement are valid. According to a 2023 McKinsey report, AI could affect up to 400 million jobs globally by 2030. To address this, governments and companies must invest in workforce reskilling and digital literacy programs. As with past technological revolutions, like the shift from agriculture to industry, new job categories will emerge, many of which we cannot yet predict. What's essential is ensuring workers aren't left behind. If guided with inclusive policies and training support, AI can complement human labor rather than replace it. In the long run, productivity gains from AI could fuel economic growth and even shorten the work week, enhancing work-life balance. Practice number 9, online privacy and government surveillance. Model answer. In response to the professor's post, I believe limited government surveillance of online activity is acceptable if it is transparent, well regulated, and used solely for national security purposes. In an era where threats can emerge from a single tweet or encrypted message, governments need tools to detect and prevent attacks. A clear example is the prevention of the 2018 Strasbourg Christmas marker attack in France, where intelligence services intercepted digital communications between suspects. That said, mass surveillance without oversight erodes public trust and civil liberties. The revelations from Edward Snowden in 2013 highlighted how unchecked data collection by the NSA included ordinary citizens, sparking global outrage. To protect both privacy and safety, democratic governments must establish strict guidelines, judicial review processes, and independent audits of surveillance programs. Additionally, citizens should be informed of what data is collected and why. Encryption and anonymity are vital for journalists, activists, and dissidents, especially in repressive regimes. Therefore, surveillance should be targeted and justified, not indiscriminate. The solution is not total privacy or total control, but rather a balanced framework that respects the fundamental rights while responding to evolving security risks. A society that values both freedom and safety can and must do both. Practice number 10. Standardized testing in education. Model answer. In response to the professor's post, I believe standardized testing can serve as a valuable benchmark in education, but it should not be the sole measure of student success. When used appropriately, standardized tests offer insights into trends, gaps, and areas for improvement across districts and demographics. For example, data from national exams like the NAEP, National Assessment of Education Progress, in the U.S. has helped identify achievement gaps among racial and socioeconomic groups, prompting targeted interventions. However, problems arise when test scores become the only indicator of student ability or teacher effectiveness. High-stakes testing often leads to teaching to the test, narrowing curricula, and stifling creativity. Moreover, these tests can disadvantage students with test anxiety, learning differences, or those from non-English speaking households. Finland's education system, which minimizes standardized testing, consistently ranks among the best globally, emphasizing critical thinking and teacher autonomy. Rather than eliminating testing altogether, we should adopt a more balanced approach. Combine standardized assessments with portfolios, group projects, and teacher evaluations. This multi-method strategy captures a fuller picture of student learning. In short, standardized testing has its place, but education should be more willing than filling in the bubbles. We need to assess not just what the student knows, but how they think, communicate, and solve problems. So how can you use chat to help you grade these writing responses? Step number 1, paste your TOEFL post into ChatGPT. Then use this prompt. Grade my TOEFL writing for an academic discussion response on a scale from 0 to 30 using the official TOEFL rubric. Then explain my score based on the following criteria: relevance, clarity, development, grammar, sentence variety, and word choice. Step 2, ask for line-by-line feedback. Now analyze my response line by line. Point out grammar errors, vague phrasing, or missed opportunities to develop ideas. Then give suggestions to improve each paragraph. The scoring rubric to share with GPT. Relevance and clarity, 10 points. Idea developed, 5 points. Grammar mechanics, 5 points. Sentence variety, 5 points. Word choice and precision, 5 points. So you can copy and paste this chart into your prompt or just describe each category. So if you've made it this far, you're serious about improving your TOEFL score. So here's what you can do next. Smash the like button. Subscribe for weekly TOEFL content. Visit bettertoeflscores.com for detailed feedback on your speaking and writing. If you want personalized corrections and a 24-hour turnaround, check out my $99 a month TOEFL feedback service. See you next time, and remember, practice doesn't make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect.